Hello everybody, welcome to another Let's Talk by Living Options Devon. We are a local charity in Devon and we support disabled people and deaf people who use British Sign Language in Devon. So my name's Lydia, I am the Marketing and Communications Lead at Living Options Devon, and with me is Becki.
Hi, I'm Becki. I'm the Charity Hub Coordinator for Living Options Devon.
And Keira.
Hi, I'm Keira. I'm the Counselling Lead at Living Options Devon.
And Justine.
Hi, I'm Justine, and I'm a BSL using counsellor for deaf people for Living Options Devon.
Brilliant. Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hello. So let's talk counselling and let's learn more about it. So Keira, if I could ask you, what is counselling?
Good question, and I think a lot of people probably don't know. We sort of hear about counselling, but unless you actually ask that question, you probably don't know the answer. So counselling is a kind of therapy, so it's therapeutic for people to come in and resolve issues, and it's a sort of a healing space. So counselling is about having a safe, confidential, non-judgmental space in which a client can talk about any issues that they're facing, things that are sort of they feel is holding them back in their lives, or something that they from their past that they don't understand. So it's a non-judgmental space, and I think counselling sort of gives us a way of understanding ourselves as well as our past. It sort of gives us a greater sense of self-awareness and provides us with tools to sort of face sort of ongoing challenges in our lives. And it's also about growth and change. So it's talking, gaining a perspective, learning about ourselves, and growing and changing from that.
Anything else you'd like to add, Justine?
And counselling is a professional way of offering something to our clients. They can talk about their issues, and it gives them time that they might not otherwise have. It's their time, it's their space. And it's a first step for some of them. Some of our clients say, "Oh, I don't have time for me. I don't have time to think. I don't have time." And this is their space exclusively. It's for them. It's for nothing else but focusing on them. And it's a journey to them understanding more about themselves. And it's like removing them from society for an hour in a room with us, or virtually in a room with us, and focusing on their own mental health, and people find it generally very helpful. And that's the aim, that's what we offer, and that's what we hope to do. It's about people looking inside themselves and taking care and putting themselves first for a bit.
And can I add there as well, I think many people, for many people it's a really powerful experience to actually be listened to and actually heard properly for an hour. A lot of us don't have that, or we don't have time in our lives, and as Justine says, we've got this safe space away from the world, to focus purely on that person, and it's really powerful and really sort of quite transformative sometimes.
Yeah,
Can imagine. And who needs counselling, Justine?
It's for anyone. It's for anyone that has perhaps a mental health condition, or I'll give another example. Perhaps they've been suffering from depression or anxiety, and it's a way of opening up a dialogue with people who perhaps they're struggling a little bit in their lives, in society. Perhaps there's been a significant event in their life. They've been through a trauma. And they don't feel that they're not able to share it with the other people around them, perhaps in the workplace, colleagues or family. So they come into our sessions with us as qualified counsellors, and they use it as a way of compartmentalising things, aspects of their lives. So this is their space to talk about their issues, and life within their families and their workplace can carry on as they want it to, but they can bring up any issues in their safe space. They can raise things that have happened in the past, and sometimes they're talking about the present, issues in the present, and sometimes they talk about things that have happened to them in their past. So I think it's really important for people to understand that this is their time, and it's their time, it's their opportunity to talk to somebody.
Sorry, Becki, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I just had a bit of an addition to that. Is there like a certain criteria that people have got to meet to get counselling sessions from you both?
Shall I go first?
Yeah, go on, Keira.
Yeah, so for my service, Justine and I differ slightly, but not particularly. But for my service, clients have to have a disability. So that could be a physical disability, it could be a learning disability, or it could be a long-term health condition. So that's my criteria. Yeah, so and I offer an assessment session, and then from that, you know, counselling will sort of proceed after that.
Brilliant, thank you.
And how about you, Justine? Is the criteria the same?
Well, mine is specifically focused on a particular community, and that is deaf people who use British Sign Language. There have been many gaps in mental health services for deaf people, and so this is a way of offering specific counselling for the deaf community and overcoming communication barriers by providing, you know, myself as a BSL user. It's been life is very stressful living as a deaf person, and if you have additional stresses in life, it might be that counselling is beneficial. So my criteria really is that they are deaf and they use sign language. If they don't use sign language, they're very welcome to contact me as well, and we can talk about whether I can meet their particular communication needs. And if they are deaf with additional conditions, that's also meets my criteria. For example, I have a client deaf with ADHD or deaf with other medical conditions.
Okay, so we've talked a bit about what counselling is and what we offer at Living Options Devon through our counselling service. So if someone was coming to you, how do you do the counselling? How does it work? Do you meet online? Do you meet face to face? What can someone expect if they come to have a counselling session with you both? Keira.
So it's the choice. I'm completely led by my clients. So I provide counselling either online via Zoom, on the telephone. Some people prefer telephone counselling, or we have completely accessible counselling rooms in our offices in Exeter. So I leave the choice to my clients. You know, if they want to, they could do a mixture of all of those things. So I think what people could expect is I'd have an informal chat with them on the phone first, and then I would book them in for an assessment session. And then that's just sort of a short session for us to get to know each other, to talk about why somebody wants to come to counselling, any previous counselling they may have had, ways in which they cope, and what their hopes are from the counselling. And then from there, people will generally have 6 sessions with me, and that's usually every week. It can sometimes be every 2 weeks, but I find that regular counselling sessions is the best way to do it. So that's what I offer. It's strange because I think during the pandemic, people have got used to Zoom and used to working online, whereas if I'd have offered that 2 years ago, I suspect a lot of people would have been quite scared of it. But I'm finding that lots of clients actually really like working on Zoom, and especially for people with disabilities, it's often easier to be in the comfort of their own home and talk to me that way, which is absolutely fine. And I find it's just as efficient and just as good a way of counselling, and it has its benefits as well.
Keira, did you train in the midst of the pandemic, didn't you? Or did you do counselling before?
Yeah, I was training before, but I finished my training sort of just as the pandemic started.
Yeah.
So all of my sort of training hours had been done face to face. So I had to sort of transfer onto Zoom. And I must admit, I was quite hesitant about doing that in the first place, thinking, well, how can I connect with the client? Because the kind of therapy that I do and Justine does is person-centered counselling, which is all about the relationship between the counsellor and the client. It means that we've got an equal relationship. It's about compassion and non-judgment and about understanding and acceptance. And I was worried about how do I convey that on a computer screen?
Yeah.
But actually, sort of jumping into it, it's been absolutely fine. And I found the same with clients as well. And I really do think actually a couple of years ago, it wouldn't have been like this. So I think actually the pandemic has possibly made counselling more accessible to a lot of people.
Do you find that you've almost got more clients now that it's more accessible for people?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think some of the clients that I have wouldn't be able to get to the accessible counselling rooms next. That might be because they're based in a completely different part of Devon. It might be somebody with a physical disability that's unable to travel, or is in a lot of pain. Lots of people have chronic pain conditions. It's not easy for them to get out. So I think being able to work online has made it accessible, and that's not to say that people don't want to use our accessible counselling rooms. It's nice to be able to provide a choice to people and for people to have that and to sort of bring that to them. And that's exactly what I'm about, is about being led by my client. So to actually be able to offer them a choice of how they want to work and how they want to talk to me, it has been a brilliant thing. So yeah, it's different than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So
go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, so interesting to learn so much more about it. I think it's something certainly through the lockdowns and everything and the pandemic, mental health has been really high on the agenda, hasn't it? And counselling has sort of really come into its own. So we've learned a bit about what counselling is and what we offer at Living Options. But Justine, if I can ask, when should someone seek counselling? I mean, how do you know when you need counselling? I mean, somebody could be watching this and thinking, actually, the pandemic's really been really hard, or perhaps the pandemic's brought out past emotions that I need to talk through with somebody. When should somebody seek help, and how do they go about getting referred to us and getting in touch and getting that counselling that they need?
Well, our service, you talked about the pandemic, and that's been, that's key really to a lot of the work that we do. There has been an increase in the need for counselling because deaf people in particular, I can talk about, have had additional barriers. They have to rely on interpreters to access services, and so when services closed, it became less and less accessible because everything switched online. So for deaf people, a life that was already full of barriers, they became even more isolated than they were pre-pandemic. So yes, it has been really detrimental to the mental health of lots of deaf people. Now, deaf people can refer themselves. They can go through our social media channels, Facebook. They can put direct messages and request somebody to get in contact because they would like counselling. They could ask a third party to make a call and make the referral for them if they want to, if that's more comfortable for them. We have easy read literature, so we have a form that's very simple to complete. It asks some very basic questions, nothing complicated. It just asks them basically what issues they're having, and then it can be sent to me via email.
Mm-hmm.
And then we set up, like Keira said, we set up like an initial assessment appointment, because I want the client to meet me and have a conversation with me and make sure that they understand me, and to let me know whether they're happy with me as much as I'm, telling them whether this is right for them. After then, we book a minimum of 6 sessions. We can do more sessions than that if needed. And it's very much led by the individual themselves. And if they've had a trauma, such as they've been deprived of information, and that can cause trauma in itself, and what that means is all of their lives, if they've not been able to hear, they've not been able to access information that hearing people can hear through listening to family, friends, listening to discussions on the radio. If you think, it isn't that many years since we've had subtitles on television, so the old generation didn't have access to television either. People learn things in really odd places. Even on a bus journey, you might be listening to someone's conversation and you learn something from it, but a deaf person doesn't have that. So deaf people throughout their lives are playing catch up in a sense, and it takes them longer to process things because there's a language barrier. So coming to counselling with someone able to communicate with them, it is an opportunity for them to talk about their frustrations with somebody that has the same frustrations. It helps them better understand how to make decisions about their lives, about making choices, because growing up, lots of that kind of decision making is taken away from them. And I just want to point out that for many people, 6 sessions isn't enough, because we go so deep with some people that we just need to extend that because the work isn't complete after 6 sessions. I think it's important that people realise that they aren't the only person that feels the way they do. And I think from my experience, my clients find that really reassuring when I can say, yes, other people have these feelings just like you do. And they've never been able to access counselling through normal channels. So this is a new opportunity for deaf people in Devon that Living Options Devon are offering. And through every form of communication, accessing us, you can text us, you can email, get somebody to ring us, ask a family, ask a friend, make contact with us in any way you want to. Our processes aren't strict. We try to be as flexible as we can because we want to meet the needs of our clients.
And Justine, do you know of any other BSL counsellors in Devon, or are you one of the unique ones? So is it a very unique service to us?
That's a very good question. There are counsellors out there but that will work with deaf people, but I'm the only deaf counsellor that I'm aware of in the whole of Devon.
Wow.
And whilst there are other counsellors that may be able to meet the needs of the deaf community, I am the only deaf person. And I think, and I also keep up with my training and CPD and go to supervision so that all of my skills are up to date. I do a lot of research and lots of reading. I want to do everything I can to help my individual clients. And every year I renew my insurance and my registration, like a governing body for counsellors, so that people are reassured that we are, qualified and registered to do the job that we are offering. And I think that's really important that clients are aware of that. And I am supervised in what I do. So I hope that would be reassuring to clients.
And can I just...
That's really important.
I'll just echo what Justine said as well, because I think there are lots of people out there that call themselves counsellors, that don't have that regular supervision. They're not part of an official body of counsellors, a recognised national qualification. And I think that's really important and really reassuring to clients. And yeah, the same as Justine, I receive regular supervision, and as part of my membership I'm part of the National Counselling Service and its society, and as part of that you have to do a certain amount of CPD, so you know, extra training on top to keep on top of your learning and to be able to offer clients the best service and the most up-to-date information as possible.
Can I also ask as well, we've got the 6 free sessions, haven't we? And then Justine spoke of a moment ago about the fact that people tend to have more sessions after that. Are the extra sessions, are they still free, or are they at a charge if you need more than 6? Keira.
Oh yeah, I say I pretty much the same as Justine. I offer 6. 6 is really, it's quite a small number, so I do try in my assessment session to try and set or get my client to set a realistic aim for those 6 sessions. As Justine said, sometimes we go quite deep, and I would never leave a client, you know, when it's harmful for them, you know, if they're exploring something that they need to continue with. So I will offer extra sessions if it's needed, but of course they're free as well. But they're agreed up front. Usually I'll agree to 4 extra sessions with somebody. But yeah, it's not about leaving somebody in the lurch, opening up something that might be painful for them to talk about and unresolved. So yeah, it's important, but within that as well, I have to be realistic and help them to set an aim that's realistic within that time, because many people could, ideally it could go on for years with some people. You know, that would be the ideal, but unfortunately that's not possible. But lots can be achieved in 6 weeks. It can be life-changing, just 6 sessions. But yeah, of course it's free as well, and I feel really passionately about that because I believe counselling is beneficial to everybody and it should be accessible to everybody. And it is expensive, you know, if people go privately, you know, they could be charging, you know, in Devon it's sort of up to £50 an hour, which many people can't afford, and especially people within the disabled community who may be, you know, maybe in pain, who may not be working. So to be able to afford therapy is out of lots of people's sort of limits, really. So to be able to provide free counselling is something that I'm really, really passionate about, and you know, I'm really proud to be able to do.
Anything to add, Justine, before we sort of finish up?
I mean, I completely agree with Keira, because I would say it depends on the individual client's issues. For example, domestic abuse is one example. Sometimes that doesn't really get resolved. So that's an ongoing issue for the client. So to say goodbye after 6 sessions is going to be damaging. So we do set goals and we talk about what the client hopes to achieve. And we hope after the end of however many sessions that we've resolved some of their issues, and for some we continue the work. There are different types of mental health, and some people are able to learn through counselling, and some people, because of their difficulties understanding the process and what's going on, and they're not able to reflect, and so those people do need additional sessions, because otherwise their problems get worse, because we're taking them back to trauma, we're taking them back to experiences, and we're asking them to talk about those experiences. So some people need long-term support with counselling. Some people can achieve in 6 sessions, and it can be really positive, just a short positive journey. But for me, from my experience, I've seen a range of needs, and this has become my passion since becoming a counsellor. I know what deaf people need. I know what the barriers are, and I've seen people out there in the deaf community that have just had enough, and they can't move on with their lives. They can't move forward and resolve these issues on their own. So that's why they come for the counselling.
It just sounds like such an amazing service and really needed. I think I've got a friend actually who had counselling a couple of years ago, and after she'd had it, she said, I think everybody should get some counselling sessions on the NHS, because she just found it so rewarding, and trauma that she didn't realise was there just came to the fore, and she was able to work through that and move forward in many areas of her life. So yeah, it sounds like an incredible service. So I think, yeah, sorry, go for it.
I mean, that's why I trained as a counsellor. I had counselling in the past, and I found it so life-changing that I wanted to be able to offer that back. And I feel so passionately that everybody can benefit. And like you said, Lydia, there was things that she didn't realise that were there. And counselling is about that, is bringing things that are in our unconscious into our consciousness and being able to accept those and to move on with them. And I think there still is a bit of stigma about counselling, but it is for everybody. You know, it doesn't have to be for somebody who's had a major trauma or, you know, serious mental health issues. It could just be for people who feel stuck in their lives and don't know why, maybe, and just want to explore that. But it's completely life-changing, and I do feel that everybody at some point would benefit from it, definitely.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both so much, and of course the lovely Carleen for interpreting for us today. I think the main thing is get in touch, isn't it? Get in touch with us, and we'll be putting more information that will go with this recording, so you can get in touch with us easily. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Justine and Keira.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carleen.
Yeah, thank you, Carleen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.